Hey everyone, this is BlueStar90210, and welcome to my Rogue Spear Control Guide. Given that I basically own every category on Rogue Spear speedrunning, I figured it's time for me to give back to the community and show you guys some of the controls and tips and tricks for getting records on this game. I'm going to show y'all what every key on the keyboard is used for, what they do, how to use them, and even some tips and tricks. This guide will also be designed with speedrunners in mind, but casual fans of the game can also learn something new. With that out of the way, let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing you need to keep in mind is this game is 2 decades and a half old. There are some controls in this game that might not be very intuitive to someone who plays modern first-person shooter games, but with time, you should be able to get a hold of them. And even if you can't, there is a whole section to remap the controls in this game. So starting off, of course, there's WASD to move, and the mouse to look around. Q and E, like in some modern shooters, will be your lean keys. I don't do this often in my runs because it forces you to come to a complete stop. I usually strafe instead, but it is an option for peeking corners. C is to crouch, pretty standard. Some games use control nowadays, but I've also seen C. Only thing you have to keep in mind is strafing or moving backwards while crouched moves really slow. Now here's a weird one. By default, you sprint, so to walk, you hold down right click. This makes you move slower, but have more accuracy and make less noise. Very weird, it's bound to the right click, but again, I already made a disclaimer for that. Next, spacebar is to climb. More accurately, spacebar is the interact button. You'll also use this to open doors, hack computers, place explosives, and place bugs. Also note how taller objects take longer times to climb. Spacebar is also used to climb ladders. Be careful when descending, because you usually need to crouch to get a low enough angle to attach to it, and you can easily fall off. Speaking of which, jumping down certain ledges is also a thing you can do. That covers the movement controls. Now it's time to get into weapons. Left click is obviously to shoot. Now here's an unusual one. Z is to reload. Shift is to zoom in. There are no gun models for your held weapon in this game, so you'll just have to imagine this is like looking down the scope or the iron sights. Snipers in particular have 4 zoom levels. First is obviously hipfire. The second is like 50% zoom. Third is 100% zoom, and fourth is 75% zoom. Then it cycles back. B is to switch your weapon's fire rate. The bullet with the slash through it is safety, 1 bullet is semi-auto, 3 is burst, and 4 is full auto. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are used to switch between your equipment. 1 is your primary, 2 is your secondary, 3 and 4 are your equipment slots. N can also be used to cycle through your equipment. This is like using a scroll wheel in modern shooters. Now it's time to go over team commands. I'm saving viewpoints and stuff like that for last since some of them directly involve teammates, so I want to cover the team first so that it doesn't get confusing. Managing your team in Rogue Spear is essential for speedrunning. In the base game, it's not as crucial since you can technically beat the game just going solo, but if you want to achieve the best times possible, you're going to have to take advantage of every tool in your kit when it comes to commanding your squads. Also, for clarity's sake, we'll refer to the entirety of all your teams, all 4 of them, as the squad, whereas individual teams like blue team and red team as teams. First, probably the easiest command to use. H is for hold position. It tells every team in your squad to hold their position and wait for further orders. It stops them from following all waypoints and stops them from following you. This is a great command if you need to check something before the squad proceeds, or if you need to catch a breather because everyone's pushing into bad areas and getting shot. It's essentially your best option to stop things from getting even more chaotic. Next is R. This is the toggle follow button. It tells the members in your team to hold position. It's basically the hold position, but for specifically your team. Every other team in the squad will continue moving normally, but the ones following you will hold still until you give the order to follow again. It's very useful if you want to go do something alone without your team members accidentally doing something or getting shot, but you want all the other teams to keep doing what they're doing. Moving on, we have the status command. When you press 7, your character calls out status over the radio, and every other team will respond with what they're currently doing. This is where we finally have to dive into rules of engagement. In the bottom right, it will always show what each team is doing, whether that's
assaulting,
infiltrating,
recon,
escorting,
covering, defending,
sniping,
or even actions like opening doors. The first 4 I listed are what are called rules of engagement. These can be changed on the fly or planned ahead of time in the planning phase. Think of them like combat modes. First is Assault, which everyone should be doing 90% of the time. In this mode, AI will focus entirely on eliminating targets whenever they spot them. Infiltrating is like a half-stealth mode. AI will still eliminate targets, but only if they have a suppressed weapon to do so. If they have a suppressed secondary, they'll switch to it from their primary. Recon is the true stealth mode of this game. AI will completely ignore enemies and follow their waypoints. This is only to be used in stealth missions, or you want them to pass by an enemy without shooting them for some reason. They'll also use heartbeat sensors if they have them. Escort is basically Assault, except they'll also bring hostages with them. You also have to be in escort mode yourself if you want to bring hostages with you. Then we have combat speeds, which are also a type of mode your AIs can follow. Blitz is the speed you want to be using for most speedruns. It ensures your AI are shooting as fast as possible and moving as fast as possible. Normal makes them slow down slightly and be more careful with their shots. And lastly, Cautious makes them crouch and be very precise with their shots. It also makes the AI following you cover your 6. They'll turn around and face backwards while you push up. It's also the only way to make AIs crouch through a segment, so if you need to go low for a bit, set them to this speed. All of the current ROE and speeds of your team can be set if you press U, which brings up a small command menu that lets you click the modes you want. But this is the slow method. You can also just toggle them by pressing F for ROE and V for speed. It is handy for checking your current status, though. Thought the complicated commands were over? Guess again. I still have to explain one more mechanic: go codes. These can be assigned only through the planning menu, and they are mapped to J, Alpha, K, Bravo, L, Charlie, and M for Delta. Of course, you can change them in the keybinds menu. Whenever an AI reaches a go code waypoint, it will say what they're doing followed by a letter, like wait A, snipe D, or cover B. If you want them to continue on with the waypoints once they reach one of those go code checkpoints, you have to give them the correct go code. So if it says wait A, you tell Alpha to go by pressing J. Go codes are used to coordinate maneuvers and time actions carefully. Finally, we have special actions. These can only be triggered through the planning phase from what I know, but they let the AI do special actions like cover an area, defend an area, or snipe at an area. They can only be assigned on a waypoint when you have a go code on them. With all of this explanation done, when you press 7, it will make all your teammates state their current ROE, action, or special action. It does not report speed, however. You can use this to know where teammates are at if you've memorized your plan carefully. Also, if your teammates respond in position, this means they're waiting for a go code. And if they say
waiting for orders,
that means that they've reached the end of their waypoints from the planning phase. Moving on, if you press page up or page down, it will switch your perspective to the next team and let you control their leader. Simple, right? Now for another complicated one. / switches to observer mode. This mode takes away your control from the current unit and lets you spectate them, allowing them to follow waypoints like the AI. In other words, you let the game play itself. The best part is, you can still do team commands while spectating them. That is, give them go codes, call for status, switch perspectives, etc. You can even change the ROE and speed of the current squad you're spectating. Using this mode, you can actually make it so the mission plays out itself. There are many missions where you can make a plan that is so good that the AIs can win the mission for you, without you even having to intervene. This is such a unique command that I've never seen in any other first-person shooter game, and lets you play the game almost like an RTS. You can also activate this mode by default using the watch mode checkbox on the final screen of the planning phase. This command is crucial for certain speedruns, letting you orient yourself in the proper direction at the start of the mission. And finally, Y toggles firing for snipers. If you tell them to hold, snipers will not fire. If you tell them to fire, they will shoot. Basically just a toggle for snipers shooting. Keep in mind the sniper actually has to be in the special action sniping for this to work. Now you should have an idea of why Rogue Spear is one of the most complicated shooters out there. Now finally onto viewpoints and other miscellaneous commands. We're almost done. For the most important of the view commands, you must know about the full screen map. Press T to open it up, and you will see a map that covers your entire screen. It might be a bit too zoomed in though, so press left bracket to zoom out and right bracket to zoom in. You can go pretty much to infinity in each direction. Not sure why the developers didn't put a cap on it, but feel free to zoom in or out as much as you like. The reason this screen is so important is because it lets you see your team from across the map, and spot enemies from further away with the heartbeat sensor. It's an indispensable tool on stealth missions. Along with that, you can press G to make the screen split into 4 maps, each displaying the map from a perspective of a team lead. It also shows up in your HUD as well, in 4 mini-maps if you close the full screen one. This can be very handy in determining where your teams are at, a bit more reliably than the status button. And finally for the map commands, backslash shows you the map from the perspective of your teammates that follow you. It's sort of niche aside from checking where your followers are if they get stuck somewhere, but one of the cool parts is it actually shows the waypoints the game creates for your followers in real time. F1 changes your perspective to third person. This third person is a bit wonky, in that it takes a little while to catch up to your character, but it can still be used to peek some corners. F3 disables your reticle, if you've ever wanted to do that, maybe for a screenshot. F4 toggles auto-aim. This is another super important feature for speedrunning, as it lets you make a bunch of shots that would otherwise be impossible. It also lets your cursor separate from the center of your screen a bit, saving a bit of time on kills you wouldn't have been able to turn for. Keep in mind this feature only works for Recruit and Veteran. On Elite, you gotta do things the old-fashioned way. You can also set this feature in the settings, but it's kinda redundant given you can just toggle it with a button. F5 pauses the game. F6, F7, and F8 are used for changing the game speed. F6 slows it down, F7 resets it back to normal, and F8 speeds it up. This feature is currently banned in speedrunning. It makes the game very hard to control and also makes the game much more prone to crashing. Maybe there will be a category it can be used in the future, but for now, it's just banned. But for casuals, mess around with it as much as you like. Moving away from the function keys, 5 turns on night vision. Unlike in modern games, this night vision is very clean without any blurriness or tunnel vision, so it's extremely handy for darker missions. 6 pulls up the status display screen. Make sure to press escape to get out of it, because sometimes hitting the green arrow makes the game crash. Also with 5, numpad 5 centers your view on the screen again. And that's it. That's every command in Rogue Spear. There are a couple more that are multiplayer specific, like there's some commands that lets you queue messages that you can map to buttons and just send in an instant. and a screenshot button, but that's kind of outside of the scope of this video. I hope you learned something new, and hopefully this information sparks some of you to give the game a shot for speedrunning as well. I'm planning on making more guides in the future, as equipment, the planning phase, and operator stats are going to need their entirely own videos, but we'll see when I get around to it. That's all for now, and hope you all have a great time. Peace out.
Objective completed.
Tango down.
Mission objective completed. Mission objective completed.